Okay guys, so well done. As some of you saw, JavaScript isn't very forgiving. You know, hair out of place, feck off, that's all it gives you, you know. If you do run into trouble, some of you there had a quick look at the error console in Firefox. I usually find that's enough for me to find my really stupid mistake, you know. There are more sophisticated tools where you can actually like trace variables and see what they are and stuff. That can help if you have a program that's working but not doing what you thought it should do. But if you just think you have a syntax error, usually the error console will find it fairly quickly. We saw the usual suspects, you know, uppercase and lowercase variable names not matching, brackets out of place, missing a bracket, that kind of a thing. The usual things that are very hard to see when you read it. Now, the next example is a bit of a head wrecker, I think, but it's very good, and it illustrates a very important point. And that point is that when you're using a document.write, you are building up HTML for display. So what this one does here is it will display a randomly selected image from a range of images. So we've got, in this case, 7 images, I think, and it'll display one of them at random. I'll show you that at work. So when the page loads, it displays an image. This one was image number 2. When this loads again, displays number 3. Loads again, number 3 again. Number 0, number 2, image number 4, and so on. So you can imagine how you could have a website where, you know, just for the sake of a bit of variety, it displays something different when you come, you know, might be different each time. So if you had, you know, bishopstown.com or something, you might have 20 pictures of Bishopstown, and when the page loads, it might show one of them. Come back another time, might show a different one. I mean, this kind of randomness isn't terribly useful. The main reason we would use randomness is it's great for games and things. No. So we're going to see 2 things in this example. We're going to see the use of the random number generator, and we're going to see the building up of an image tag in the code. And the 2 of them working together get the desired effect here. So, as usual, it's a bog standard HTML page. Give your header, blah, 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 title, blah, blah, blah. And then inside in the body, we have our script. And here we have the math.random. Now, math.random will evaluate to a random real number between 0 and 1. It never quite gets to 1. So it won't ever be 1, but you might get to 0.99999999999. But it's a real number. It's a floating point number between 0 and 1. Which is fine, you know, we can deal with that. It's not terribly useful. If you want, you know, pick a card out of 52 cards, you know, they don't generally have real values, but we can use that as a starting point to get the random number that we want, or the range of random numbers. So that'll return a value between 0 and 1. Now we're looking for a value between 0 and 6. So math.random, that value between 0 and 1, that will get put into rand. And then we're passing rand into math, but then we're multiplying rand by 6. So we had a number between 0 and 1, not sure what it was. Now we have a number between 0 and 6. We're not sure what it is. And in both of those cases, we still have real numbers. So if the random number was like 0.50000, then rand by 6 would give us 3.0000, wouldn't it? Yeah. Now what math.round does is it'll round the number up or down to an integer. So if we had 3.17291, we'll get 3. If we had 3.8421906, we'll get 4. So round will round to the nearest integer. There are another two as well. There's ceiling, which rounds up, and floor, that rounds down. So maybe that you only want to round down ever, or that you only want to round up ever. So any questions on that? So we start with math.random, which gives us a real number between 0 and 1. We multiply that by 6, giving us a real number between 0 and 6. And then we round that so that we have a whole number that's 0 or 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6. And that's stored in myint. What we're going to do now is we're going to build up an image tag piece by piece in order to get the document.write. But actually I have more slides on the other thing, so I'll show them in more detail. People didn't get this point, I found in the past, so I extended the slides. So we have our number between 0 and 1, then we have a random number between 0 and 6, and then round is going to round it out. So if we started with 0.47 blah blah blah, multiply that by 6, we'd have 2.8 blah blah blah, which will round up to 3. No. This next part now is a bit of a head wrecker. So the images are called page photo 00.jpg, page photo 01.jpg, page photo 02.jpg, page photo 03.jpg, and so on. So those are the names of given the images. So now we need to build up the image tag piece by piece and output that then, and it has to be proper HTML. So what's an image tag look like? It's img space equals, space source equals quote, the name of the image file, quote, and then there's a slash at the end. Now, as we know, there's more. There's the alt and the width and the height, but we won't deal with those right now. So here we're saying document.write, and the first quote there is starting to quote the string. So we're going to output img src equals. No, the problem, so the end of that string there is after the photo 0. Okay? So that quote starts there and ends down there. That's its partner. Okay? That's how they're paired up. The quote in the middle in there, we have to escape that so that we can signify that it's not the end of the string, it's a quote in the string, because we want to say img src equals quote. We want to output a quote. So that quote needs to be escaped. That's what that slash is doing. So it's img src equals quote page photo 0. That's the first piece we're outputting. Next up then, we're outputting the value of my int, which is 0 or 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6. And then we need to finish off the rest of it. So we're going to output .jpg quote, actually outputting the quote. So that's why that's escaped there. And we continue with the output. We're outputting slash, close bracket, br slash, and the string ends then down there. So without the colors, it can look very confusing because you've lots of quotes and slashes. So we end up outputting then something like img src equals page photo 03.jpg with the quotes in the right places. Now, we're also missing the alt and the width and the height, which need to be there for it to be correct, but that would have only complicated the point I'm trying to make now. So I'll leave that on the screen, and you can give it a latch. I'll leave the color-coded one there, just to make it easier to see what's going on. Any questions on that? So we have our randomness there, and we're also building up an image tag piece by piece. But the problem is that there are quotes that are inside in the quotes. We want to actually output quotes. You okay, Peter?
I'm just wondering if we don't have the photos on our machines, how it's going to work for us.
You don't have the what?
The photos.
Oh yeah, sorry, you'll need to put photos in as well then. So you'll need to make, you should get your own photos and do something just like photo 0, photo 1, photo 2, photo 3 or something. But you'll have to get your own photos. And they need to be in the same folder as the HTML file.